So for some reason, I'm not totally sure why, but over all of these years, all of the times I've moved, for some reason I have kept this book. This book does not actually have anything in it. It's completely blank. It's, I think, supposed to be like a drawing or painting book from what's on the cover here. But back when I was 6, this was the canvas of a novel that I was going to write. It was, unsurprisingly, some amorphous piece of Star Wars fanfic, but the thing that I remember most distinctly is that I absolutely just was dying to fix this cover. I wanted to like paint over it with black and then like paint on the cover of the design of the Star Wars book that I was just certain to write at 6. And I distinctly remember asking my mom for paint to cover it over so that I could put the cover that really fits what I was going to write onto it before I started writing it. Quite obviously, I did not get the paint to cover this book because you can see it right now. But my mom instead said, write the book first, and then we can paint it later. The fact that there's absolutely nothing written in here kind of is a testament to the fact that I didn't actually have an idea. I had the idea of having an idea. As I've moved on to music and video and blogging, I've sort of realized that this is kind of a persistent issue for me. It's something that I have to really closely pay attention to when I'm in the process of committing myself to a project. The thing that these little creative flares lack is any sort of meaningful judgment of whether your main project, upon which the flares depend for their very survival, is worth doing and is within your ability to do at that time. In my various forays into creative expression, I have realized nearly universally that the only really valuable measure of whether an idea that I've had is a good one and is a doable one is by trying it. At first, this trying it is just trying to think through it, trying to put together the structure and the format and kind of how I'm going to pull it off. A lot of times, the ideas that I come up with are not good enough to sustain my interest through this planning period, and so I'll spend 2, 3, 4 weeks thinking about something, and then we'll come to realize that I wouldn't really want to invest 2 or 3 years into it. If I pass this planning phase of the trying strategy, then I will try practically. I'll put down tracks, I'll start filming, I'll start writing, and I'll see how far I'm sort of able to go. I try to keep myself from mentally committing to the project or the idea until I see it actually starting to play out in the way that I was hoping it would in my head. So if I try and record a song in a style that sounded really good in my head, but really just doesn't work in real life, then I'll kind of just pick it up and put it to the side and start something else. And if I really feel compelled, I can go back to it, but generally I don't. Conversely, if I'm actually able to make physical progress with the idea in my head, I tend to get very excited, and that sort of fuels me to work on it even more. And after spending a bit of time in this sort of cycle of seeing if I'm still excited by the idea, then I will be able to make a sort of informed decision about whether I want to commit to all of the work and all of the strain and all of the hassle of editing and polishing and preparing and releasing. These ideas of ideas are my kryptonite, though, because they commit me to projects before I've really decided whether they're worth committing to. Even though in the moment it won't feel like a big investment, the amount of time that I will commit to all of the frills around the amorphous, uncreated project will take a lot of time, and when I come to the end of them, I will realize that I either have to carry through with the project, or I have to lose all of this work. And many times after I've done all of this sort of packaging preparation and made all of the frills and all of the various little things that surround the project but aren't really part of its essence, and then I try and go for the essence of the project, I realize either A, it's not really that interesting, or B, I don't actually have the skills to pull off yet what I want to pull off. Thus, the rule of thumb that I stick with as often as possible when I'm evaluating or starting in on new projects is to start at the middle. If you're making an album, write the riffs and write the lyrics and try and put them together before you make the cover. If you're making a YouTube channel that has some degree of planning to it, start by writing scripts and not making the artwork. Now, if you're a graphic designer and designing pages and designing logos and designing artwork is the essence of what you're making, then you should start with that. But if it's not, then you should probably wait. And then, in the best case scenario, when you get to the end of starting at the middle and you have something sort of complete or committed to at least, then you can sort of evaluate how much of those outside frills are really worth your time. Because as much as we might want to, many times we simply do not have the time to do both the middle and all of the frills, and so we have to be selective. Starting at the middle means that the most substantial thing of what you're making will be the most valuable and will have the most time and energy devoted to it. So the next time that you embark on a project, to save yourself the most time and make sure that you make the best product possible, start at the middle. This is Jacke Karashae, wishing you the most productive creative endeavors.